7 went into effect. They show crime increased in all 4 LAPD bureaus. The biggest spike in the Central Bureau. This includes Skid Row, the rest of downtown, and Echo Park. Citywide, violent crime is up 26%, property crime up 11%. One bit of good news to report, homicides are down slightly from last year. In downtown LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Aggravated assaults are also up. Chief Beck says that may be attributed to recent changes in the way those crimes are classified. Increases in domestic violence cases could be linked to more victims being encouraged to report the crime. We take a closer look at another one of the mayor's top priorities, water conservation. Anna Marcos reports on how the LA Department of Water and Power and the Wildwoods Foundation are working together to educate kids, the state's future water consumers.
Kids from Mayberry Elementary are putting on their architect's hat for a day at the Vista Hermosa Natural Park near downtown LA. They're tasked to build a PVC pipe that replicates LA's water aqueduct system with its 2 main sources of water, the Owens Valley Reservoir and the Sacramento Delta.
I think the most challenging part was connecting the two reservoirs and disperse it evenly all throughout each city.
The project, called A Drop in the Bucket, is a joint effort by the Wildwoods Foundation and the LA Department of Water and Power.
Every drop counts, and a little water savings in our homes, in our schools, in our parks can add up to helping LA get through this drought.
The point of all this is to educate students on where our water comes from, how we use it, and what we can do to conserve more of it in this critical time of drought.
Even though 71% of this is covered with water, most of that's in the oceans, which leaves just a little bit that's fresh.
Open Owens Valley, please! The big moment arrives and the kids open the spigots to see if their engineering work has paid off. The miniature water project is a resounding success.
What's exciting is building the aqueducts to check if it works successfully.
Even better, these kids now go home with a greater sense of how dependent we are on outside water sources and how important it is to conserve California's precious water. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The Wildwoods Foundation is a nonprofit group that goes into the schools to teach kids about science, ecology, and water resources. From 1941 to 1945, millions of Jews were rounded up and murdered by the Nazis. To remember the Holocaust and to ensure it never happens again, LA city leaders joined the city's large community of Jews in observing Yom HaShoah. Rasha Goel reports.
City leaders recently observed Yom HaShoah, otherwise known as Day of Remembrance of the Holocaust and the heroism. It has become a day observed by Jewish communities and individuals worldwide.
In that Holocaust, 11 million people were killed. 6 million Jews were killed. 6 million souls. And you think about, that's the same number of Jews that are now alive in America, in the entire country today.
The survivors, we are dinosaurs. We are an endangered species. So I'm lucky to still be alive and being able to share what we went through, which is incredible.
LA City Controller Ron Galperin, whose father was a Holocaust survivor, also shared a few words.
Today is also a day when we remember those who stood up for justice, citizens of Europe, religious leaders, those who risked their lives to actually stand up to evil. And we have to remain vigilant and stand against the rise of anti-Semitism.
Los Angeles is home to the second largest population of the Jewish community. And for many here, recognizing today is a reminder of tolerance and history not repeating itself.
No matter who you are, what you believe, or what color of your skin, that you have a right to exist and you have a right to believe in what you believe in without interfering with others.
Between 109 and 149,000 Holocaust survivors are still living, though that number is declining. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Officials say of the Holocaust survivors, many are living below the poverty line and many still face mental and physical challenges. A fallen LAPD hero is remembered on the one-year anniversary of his death in the line of duty. Officer Chris Cortijo will now be remembered by both officers and motorists, as 2 memorials now honor his memory. Anna Marcos reports.
Valley traffic officers came out in force to remember one of their own fallen brothers. Traffic officer Chris Cortijo, killed on his way to a DUI traffic stop 1 year ago. Now, a newly unveiled sign, Officer Chris Cortijo Square, will serve as a memorial at this Van Nuys intersection.
Today we remember him not just as an outstanding member of this department and a great colleague at Valley Traffic Division, but we also remember him as a beloved husband, a beloved son, a beloved father, and a friend.
Chris was recognized for the over 3,000 DUI arrests he's made in his career.
Officer Cortijo made it his life mission to arrest drunk drivers. Unfortunately, his own life was ended by another drunk driver.
Someplace in Los Angeles, there's an expectant mother who's dreaming about the life that her unborn child will live. And that mother and that unborn child are here today because of Chris Cortijo, and Chris Cortijo lives on through them.
Later, an emotional moment for Cortijo's wife and the unveiling of a plaque in his honor at the Valley Traffic Division headquarters. His own former partner remembers Cortijo as a fighter who never gave up in life or in his dying moments.
We stood by him with his family for 4 days as he fought for his life. And he fought, and he fought, and he fought. And he did what we're trained to do. You don't give up.
Cortijo died 4 days after his tragic accident, but his legacy of stopping drunk drivers will now live on, as some of the 60,000 motorists who pass through here each day see his memorial sign. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
And that memorial sign is located at the corner of Van Nuys Boulevard and Arminta Street in Van Nuys. You wouldn't think it, but the Los Angeles Public Library is in the business of recidivism. 2 librarians say the free resources offered by the library system can be just what those seeking to start life anew are looking for.
So she's going to help me out to print out some divorce papers, and, you know, that's something that is going to help me out. So...
Why 26-year-old Elvia Fabella is so excited about her impending divorce may become a bit more clear as you understand her past. From drug use as a teen to stints in jail and an abusive relationship before landing in federal prison for the first time in 2011, not long after giving birth to her daughter Eva.
I got caught transporting 42 kilos of marijuana across the U.S. border.
After her release in 2014 for a second conviction, Elvia began working toward earning her associate degree, but didn't have a computer. That's when she met librarian Jackie Welsh.
They have a great children's librarian. And it's a new facility, too. Yeah. So it's really nice.
Elvia and Jackie's unlikely friendship was born out of a unique program called Pathways, co-developed by Jackie and her mentor Karen Pickard IV. The library ladies, as Elvia affectionately calls them, would go into transitional housing or courthouses to meet with recent parolees to tell them about the library's free services.
Individuals would come in with legal questions, or they'd come in needing assistance finding their probation officer, or, you know, they had been in prison for a long time and they hadn't, you know, used a computer yet.
If people are able to get jobs, improve their reading, improve their skills, you know, come together, have some place in the community where they can go take their kids to story time.
The assumption may be that the participants of this program learn skills like how to register for a library card, or how to check out books, or even how to use the computer. But the truth of the matter is they learned so much more. For Elvia, what she learned changed her and her young daughter's relationship.
No one ever teaches you how to read to a child. So that's what stuck with me.
We would do story time, adult story time, but I felt that was always a good way to kick off a program.
My daughter loves books, so when I went to see her that weekend, that clicked in my head like, oh, the library ladies. And then so I did that, and my daughter was like, wow. and this one, and this one. So she was like super excited.
But today, Elvia is the excited one. With the help of librarian turned friend Jackie Welsh, Elvia is printing out those divorce forms, just the latest step in her grand plan for a fresh start on life.
The 8-month Pathways pilot program ended after its initial grant funding ran out. The hope is to secure further support to continue the program. The North Hollywood community came out in full force recently to make a bold statement in support of some very brave kids. Yana Kay has more.
Melissa Bumstead is shaving her hair to show support for her daughter who has been fighting leukemia.
I asked her, how would you feel, Grace, if I were to shave my head? And she said, Mom, you look just like me. And I had to do it.
Melissa is one of several dozen community members who came out to get their heads shaven to benefit the St. Baldrick's Foundation, a volunteer organization that raises funds for children's cancer research.
It feels strange, but it feels really empowering. Last year, we felt like we were just fighting for her life. We lived in the hospital for over 100 days, in addition to outpatient treatment. And it feels like I finally have a way to give back to the people who helped us through our journey and to help the families who are coming behind us to fight cancer.
The 13th annual event, which took place at Fire Station 89 in North Hollywood, is put on each year by members of the Los Angeles Fire and Police Department.
I come out, I shave my head. It's just, it's for a great cause.
Over the 13 years, the foundation has raised nearly $800,000 and shaved over 2,000 heads, including more than 100 females. And many of the participants have their own personal stories to tell.
I've been involved in this for 13 years since my own son had cancer when he was 4. He's a healthy 16-year-old now.
Officials say this is the 5th year in a row the foundation has raised more than $100,000, providing for medical advancements to help fight the disease.
For a disease such as neuroblastoma, which is a very specific cancer that children can get in their abdomen, St. Baldrick's allowed the development and the approval by the FDA of a new life-saving drug.
St. Baldrick's hopes to continue the tradition, providing hope and one day a cure for all children's cancer. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The goal for St. Baldrick's is to hit the $1 million mark. Each year, the city's team of engineers work to get a new generation interested in building things. Anna Marcos takes us to the annual LA Regional Bridge Building Contest.
Today, they build miniature bridges of wood. Tomorrow, it could be LA's latest concrete and steel creations. You just might be looking at the city's future engineers.
What we do is that we have to make it as light as possible and see how much weight it can hold.
25, 27, 29, 29 kilograms!
The City of LA's Bureau of Engineering and the American Society of Civil Engineers are sponsoring the 14th annual LA Regional Bridge Building Contest, which has drawn students from 11 LA high schools.
They're very motivated. They work hard over a number of months to prepare these bridges. A Bureau of Engineering mentor is assigned to each school to help guide them through the design, construction, and planning process.
Even when the bridges shatter, the students say it makes for great learning.
The faces were really strong, but the top was pretty weak. Yeah.
For the city and its engineers, it's a chance to teach the next generation.
Anything in a public right-of-way, bridges, streets, streetlights, sidewalks, all of that is public works. It's essentially how we build our city.
And hopefully it's a chance to get some of these students in an engineering frame of mind.
Someday you will be an engineer, right? How many want to be an engineer? There you go. Wow, great.
We are trying our hardest, of course, to reach out to more minorities and more female engineers at an elementary level, at a middle school level, and at a high school level.
The trophies and ribbons are great, but the contest doesn't end here. The top 2 bridge contest winners will go on to the international contest in Portland, Oregon, which means more chances to flex that engineering muscle. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
LAPD armored vehicles are used to stop a dangerous suspect. Trees are planted in remembrance of the mass shooting in Paris, and 3 LAPD officers honored for their work on Skid Row. These stories in City Beat.
Friday, April 10th, Metropolitan officers were part of a coordinated effort which used police SUVs and armored vehicles to end a lengthy pursuit of an armed suspect who carjacked a Toyota Prius taxi. Days after the pursuit, law enforcement officials told the media armored vehicles are deployed only after careful scrutiny and after certain criteria are met.
The suspect was an armed suspect that was driving around, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, specifically when schools were getting out, putting a lot of people at risk. The community was certainly running up to the window, and it was putting us in grave danger.
Officers say this was only the second time these armored vehicles were deployed in a pursuit scenario. The first time was back in November in East LA during the pursuit of a murder suspect. Councilmember Tom Labange joined the Consul General of France recently to plant trees at the bird sanctuary at Griffith Park in remembrance of the victims of the shooting in January in Paris. In January, 17 people were killed by religious extremists in attacks at the Charlie Hebdo satirical magazine offices and at a kosher grocery store. Since the attacks, thousands in France have gathered at demonstrations calling for peace and unity. 3 LAPD officers who work on Skid Row were recently honored by the California State Senate. The officers are Dion Joseph, Delano Hutchins, and Andre Linné. They received California State Senate resolutions from Senator Isidore Hall. The Safer Cities initiative launched in 2005 with 50 officers working the 50-block area of Skid Row, addressing quality of life issues for residents. Today, there is 1 lieutenant, 7 sergeants, and 50 officers assigned to the project.
The drive is on to raise money for more music, dance, and art programs in underserved communities. Gil Reyes reports from Arts Day LA at City Hall.
Students from Ramon Cortinez School in downtown benefit from arts programs that are too often lacking at other campuses. That's why the group Arts for LA is raising money. They pitch the creative and financial benefits of courses like this at every campus.
We need to address inequities, and our work here is to figure out how to partner to make more resources available.
Hundreds gathering at LA City Hall's Rotunda for Arts Day LA, recognizing the impact of LA's creative industries, which supply 1 in 7 jobs throughout LA County and $5.7 billion in annual tax revenue.
Economics aside, Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Aloe Black says there are social benefits too, especially in a city as diverse as ours.
There's so much that arts does for youth and for cultural diversity and communicating across cultures and diverse backgrounds, how we all are similar. The arts help us to broach those important conversations.
Aloe Black and LA's poet laureate Luis Rodriguez are among the honorees at Arts Day festivities at City Hall. Though more donations are needed, the city celebrates new funding for mural projects to re-engage local youth. The offices of the city controller and city attorney have also discovered $10 million in unspent art development fees. That could mean more money for music and dance classes, also art supplies.
And it should be accessible to everyone, no matter who you are, where you're from, or what your income level is, or what the demographic is. And that's what events like this are all about.
At City Hall, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
More donations are needed. Log on to artsforla.org to find out how. And in this week's All Valley edition of Things to Do, a 5K run with a splash of color, the YMCA Healthy Kids Day, and a garden festival. Here's a 5K run walk that will have you feeling the love. St. Euphrasia School is holding a super groovy mini color 5K run and walk on Saturday, April 25th, starting at 8:15 a.m. to celebrate their 50-year anniversary. As you cross the finish line, you will be puffed with psychedelic clouds of color. Enjoy the good vibes and good people as you walk or run to celebrate the school's milestone. The race will be held on a flat course at Woodley Park at 6350 Woodley Avenue in Van Nuys. Kids can also join in on the fun with a 1K run at 9:30 a.m. For more information, go to nights5k.org. Also on Saturday, April 25th, is the YMCA Healthy Kids Day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., held at the North Valley Family YMCA at 11336 Corbin Avenue in Northridge.
The idea behind Healthy Kids Day is that the more support, guidance, and opportunities we give our kids, the more they benefit in the long run. There will be activities for the whole family, including a rock climbing wall, an inflatable obstacle course, a petting zoo, and much more. For more information, visit ymcala.org/NV. And over at the Homestead Acre at Chatsworth Park South, the Chatsworth Historical Society presents a garden festival that families and friends of all ages will enjoy. The festival will take place on Sunday, April 26th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The event will include museum exhibits, quilt displays, and tea time, as well as tours of the rose gardens. Chatsworth Park South is located at 10385 Shadow Oak Drive in Chatsworth. For information on ticket prices or other details, you can call 818-882-5614. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do.
Here in Tinseltown, even a mountain lion can become famous with paparazzi hot on its trail. Last week, LA's most famous mountain lion, known as P22, was found in the crawl space of a Los Feliz home after it was believed to have crossed over the freeway from Griffith Park. And that's our This Week in Tweets. P22 first came on the radar years back when he was first spotted in Griffith Park. Scientists managed to tranquilize him and outfit him with a GPS collar and ear tags. But what ultimately cemented his fame was this photo retweeted this week by several Twitter users, including @Gizmodo, taken by wildlife photographer Steve Winter in 2013 using a remote camera which captured P22 with the Hollywood sign behind him. But last week, the photos of P22 tweeted by the likes of @CBSLA and @KPCC were less glossy. After a worker came face-to-face with the puma in the crawl space of the home and got the shock of his life, wildlife officials tried to coax P22 out by launching tennis balls and shooting beanbag rounds. While that didn't work, P22 eventually left the home of his own volition a day later and was tracked by GPS to a remote canyon back at Griffith Park. A facelift and the reopening of one trail in the San Fernando Valley is making a lot of horse owners happy. Anna Marcos takes us on a ride through the Foothill Boulevard Horse Trail.
Out here in these hills, they wear cowboy hats and they ride horses. It's a piece of the wild, wild west in a northern corner of the San Fernando Valley. And Councilmember Felipe Fuentes did as the locals do. He got on a horse to take a look at the grand reopening of the Foothill Boulevard Horse Trails.
We were able to not just clean up this trail, but we were able to repair almost a full mile of trail with this great, as you can see, buffer between the street and the horses.
This trail is a gateway to all the other trails in the mountains. And now its old wooden posts have been replaced with galvanized metal railings. They provide extra safety for joggers, traffic, horse riders, horses, and pedestrians.
This is so impressive. We've been waiting for years. This was destroyed during the Sayre fire, which was almost 7 years ago. So it's been an eyesore for a long time and almost unusable.
It's a major stepstone for Sylmar. It makes us definitely more safety as far as reaching to our goals, which are the mountains. It's a long-awaited step.
Angelinos own between 10 to 20,000 horses, many of them in the Sylmar area.
I'm proud to say we've got more horses than any other part of the city of Los Angeles.
And now this newly reopened trail provides more vistas for those 10 to 20,000 horses and their owners to enjoy and giddy up. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The project was done through the Department of Recreation and Parks. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitywiew.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook or on Twitter at LATW35. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 21st. I want to welcome you to the Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., and the public is welcome. Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonnet, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Coin, LaBanche, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson. 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Huizar moves, Englander seconds. Next.
Committed to resolutions for approval.
Bonin moves, Corretz seconds. Next.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now be the time for the flag salute.
Why don't we rise, and we'll be led by Mr. Mitch Englander in our flag salute.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. Please join me in putting your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, Mr. Englander. Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for doing this, but Apperson Elementary School Student Council 4th and 5th graders, I'm not apologizing for them. They are here today. Wave, kids.
Hey, welcome.
That's the Student Council of Apperson Elementary School, 4th and 5th grade, directed by Mrs. Lee. They have a very, very important meeting today with the mayor that they're already late for. So I just wanted to make sure that we said hello to them.
Well, why don't we let them come just a little closer? Sure. Let us get them on television. And everybody, let's give our future a round of applause.
So who are our presidents? President of the Student Council? Who's the president? Come on up and say a few words. Mr. Wesson, I would like a sash like that one day.
We should all...
Please come on up and say something.
We should all have them. Hi, introduce yourself and say something.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm the Student Council President of Apperson Street Elementary.
All right.
All righty. Welcome.
Come on up and say a few words. You're president too, right? Treasurer. No.
Treasurer,
come on up and say something. Mr. Green.
Hello, I'm David Green, Treasurer of Student Council in Apperson Street Elementary School.
Welcome, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Now, you're Mr. Green. You're Dad Green, right? Yes. Come on up. Tell everybody who you are. This is actually very important, Mr. Wesson.
Oh.
Okay.
Hi. Good morning. I'm a LA County Children's Social Worker, so I'm also the treasurer for SEIU, so I'm here. 721. So,
okay. Well,
thank you very much.
Give them a big round of applause. You guys say hi to me, right? Make sure you're telling them we need more money for parks. We need more money for parks.
Why don't we go through the agenda quickly, Madam Clerk?
Items 1 through 3 are items noticed for public hearing. The Department of Building and Safety reports that item 1G may be received and filed inasmuch as the lien was partially rescinded and the balance paid off.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. Do you have cards?
Yes, cards on items 1 and 2.
Okay, let's vote on 3. Let us open the roll. Yes, Madam Clerk. Okay, on item 3, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, let's move on.
Items 4 through 13 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, members 4 through 13, Mr. Huizar.
Number 8 for Mr. Fuentes.
Mr. 8 for Fuentes. Yeah, I sure botched that one, didn't I? Okay, let's hold item 8. Let's move on. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that brings us where?
Items 14 through 37 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do we have cards?
Yes, cards on items 14, 17, 19, 22, 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 30.
Okay, let's vote on the we'll hold those. We'll vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
15 forthwith.
And there's
Go right ahead, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Item 38 is a closed session item. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Until I get, let's hold it, and I'll have a conversation with Mr. Krikorian or Mr. Fuentes on this item. All right, that brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings council to presentations or items called special.
I'd like to call on Mr. Mitch O'Farrell from the 13th District.
Come on over, guys. Come on over. Come on over. Join us, please. I think so. Yeah. Mitch.
The dueling Mitch.
That's right. I'm good. It's good to see you. Yes, just come back.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, esteemed faith leaders. Good morning, friends. It's such a pleasure to be doing this presentation today at this time with all of the troubles that we see flashed across the news of the world. I'm joined by the other Mitchell Englander today, and we are so happy to present the first ever Religious Pluralism Day in the city of Los Angeles. Indeed, our name says it all. City of Angels. On September 4th, 1781, a group of 44 settlers known as Los Pobladores founded the El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Ángeles del Río de Porciúncula, otherwise known as the town of Our Lady of the Queen of the Angels, by the Los Angeles River. The Queen of the Angels is an honorific of the Virgin Mary. Now, as the nation's second largest city and arguably the most diverse, I would say inarguably, our city is also home to adherents of every major religion in the world. The Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Los Angeles is the largest in the country. Los Angeles is home to the second largest Jewish population in the country and has the third largest Muslim population. Other faiths practiced throughout the city include Buddhism, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Sikhism, Baha'i, as well as various Eastern Orthodox churches, including the Armenian Apostolic Church, to name just a few. We are also a city that respects the right not to have any religious affiliation. Both historically and to this day, Los Angeles has embraced people of all religions, beliefs, as well as racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds. We are a city where everyone has the freedom of being and asserting who they are and where they originate. We all coexist harmoniously and set an example for the rest of the world to follow. Today, we stand in unity, not only to celebrate our religious diversity and pluralism in Los Angeles. Our presence in unity is a message to condemn any and all global violations of human dignity and oppressive conditions that diminish the value of life in the name of religion. And even right here in our own state, we have a ballot initiative pending that calls out the killing of gays and lesbians. That is not who we are as a people. It is no coincidence that we mark this special day in the month of April. 3 of the genocides of the 20th century are commemorated this month: the Armenian genocide, the Holocaust, the Rwandan genocide, and there are others. These unimaginable atrocities and the crimes against humanity are just a reminder for the need to be united against hate, persecution, and the need to be vigilant to prevent the occurrence of future atrocities. By declaring a day of religious pluralism in the city of Los Angeles, we celebrate our unity and compassion for our fellow human beings. We must pledge to work together to build bridges of understanding that can be echoed throughout the United States and the world. And before I bring up our first leader in the faith community, I'd like to invite our colleague Mitch Englander to say a few words. Mitchell?
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you. Thank you, the other Mitch, or as we're often called around the horseshoe, Thing 1 and Thing 2. I really do appreciate joining you in this. And today I'm proud to stand here with faith-based leaders from every major religion to celebrate religious pluralism here in Los Angeles and throughout the world, to take a stand against religious persecution. Last week, colleagues, we commemorated the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau death camps back in 1945, where 11 million people were killed during that Holocaust, 6 million Jews, and of that 1.1 million were children. 2/3 of the Jewish people, in fact, living in Europe at the time of World War II were killed then by the Nazis. Today, with all religions, here in Los Angeles and in our nation, we stand united, not divided. Whereas last week we remembered the events of the past and the hope that we learn from them, this week we celebrate our present day. We must be consistently vigilant that we protect our diversity here in our nation, and particularly here in Los Angeles, whether that be of religion, race, gender, or color. If we cannot end now our differences, as President John F. Kennedy said, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis of our most basic common link, it is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And we are all mortal. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Thank you.
We're going to have a few distinguished speakers this morning. The first I'd like to bring forward is Niranjan Khalsa, President, Los Angeles City's Human Relations Commission.
Thank you, Councilman. Good morning, council members. Good morning, Council President Wesson. Always a pleasure to see you all. Behind me, I would like to introduce to you today the very diverse and very large community of faith leaders from Los Angeles that also serves as a Faith Leaders Advisory Council to the City of Los Angeles. In the wake of the heartless evil of 9/11, a miracle took place in the City of Angels. On a scale never before experienced, leaders and representatives from so many different faith communities reached out to and embraced each other with a common thought that the mutual love and compassion taught by all the world's faiths must be used to draw us together in peace and respect for one another, and with the new strength found in this unity, we must stand against those who would steal the name of religion to separate and tear humanity apart. Here we stand before you, asking you to join us in this epic fight against hatred, bigotry, and fanaticism, and ask you to help us make Los Angeles a shining example to the world of how our faiths bring us together in peace, not divide us in conflict. I would like to thank Councilmember Mitchell Farrell and Councilmember Englander for their efforts in supporting this Religious Pluralism Day. I would also like to recognize the members of the advisory committee that drafted this statement and planned today's effort. They consist of, and are not limited to, Salam al-Mariyati, Director of the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Rabbi Mark Diamond, Academy for Jewish Religion in California, Rabbi Jim Kaufman, Temple Beth Hillel, Rabbi Sharon Brous, ICAR, Rabbi Arian Cohen, American Jewish University, Robert Smith, Chairman of the B'nai David Judea Muslim Jewish Dialogue. I apologize, but I think Eastern names are just as hard as some of these sometimes. So, Imam Jihad Turk, President of the Bayan Claremont Islamic Graduate School, Aziza Hassan, Executive Director of New Ground Muslim Jewish Partnership for Change, Brila Skoda, a constant partnership to the faith community in Los Angeles, from the USC Center for Religion and Civic Culture, the Right Reverend Father Alexi Smith, ecumenical and interreligious officer of the Los Angeles Catholic Archdiocese, and my neighbor, Father Cyril Gorgi, of St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church. I think I'd like to introduce now, we have three of the community. We'd like to allow everybody time to speak because everybody has something very important to say. But unfortunately, council doesn't adjourn at midnight. So I would like to invite Rabbi Mark Diamond, Father Cyril Gorgi of the Coptic Church, St. Mark's, and Imam Jihad Turk, in that order, come up and make a few and offer a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here today with distinguished civic, community, and faith leaders. I have the privilege of serving on a Muslim-Jewish advisory committee that convenes under the auspices of the Human Relations Commission. On behalf of my colleagues, let me thank City Controller Ron Galperin, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, and all of you for your leadership and support of this day of religious pluralism. Let me take a moment to thank all of our religious leaders who deserve a round of applause for all they do for our community. Good friends, one of the shared scriptures of the Abrahamic faiths is the narrative of Noah and his ark. The Hebrew text tells us that God commands Noah, Sohar ta'aseh l'teva, make an opening for daylight in the ark. This opening, the Sohar, may have been a window or skylight that allowed light to enter the ark. But according to rabbinic legend, it was a precious stone that illuminated the whole interior of the ark. Whatever it was, it brought light into a dark place. The message of our assemblage today is our shared mandate to bring the light of pluralism to the dark places of the ark that is our world. Our ark suffers from the darkness of pain and violence, mass murder, torture, expulsion of minority religious and ethnic groups in the Middle East, Africa, and elsewhere. Our ark, our world, is plagued by the darkness of hatred and intolerance, anti-Semitism, hatred of Christians, Islamophobia, and other divisive ideologies that perpetuate bigotry and fear of the other. As a Jew, as a rabbi, I feel the pain of my fellow Jews, my fellow Christians, my fellow Muslims, my fellow Sikhs, the pain of all of God's children who are the victims of violence and terror. I know and we know that an assault upon one faith community is an assault upon all of us, upon all people of faith and goodwill. We know how critical it is for the people of Los Angeles to stand together in these most challenging times. The strength of this community is here today in this chamber, in its houses of worship, and in the hearts of its people. It is the light of unity in diversity. With this light, we dispel the darkness of fear and intolerance. With this light, we can transform despair into hope, conflict into peace, and hatred into love. So let's work together. Let's work together to ensure that the light of unity and diversity shines brightly in our City of Angels and throughout our world. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rabbi.
Good morning, council members. I'm Father Cyril Gorgi. I'm here on behalf of His Grace Bishop Serapion of the Coptic Orthodox Church. I thank the council for adopting this resolution that stands with those who are persecuted and against those who persecute and spout evil ideology. This morning, in the back, all major faith and civic leaders gathered and prayed together a prayer of unity. And together, we stand in front of you in solidarity, unified, shoulder to shoulder, with one goal in mind, and that is to speak against and condemn persecution, murdering, raping, enslaving, and hating others. These acts of persecution and hate are evil in action, and silence in the sight of this evil is in itself evil. Our goal this morning is to publicly condemn the teaching and the practice of persecution and oppression of fellow humans. And as responsible religious faith leaders, we all pledge to teach and practice compassion for fellow human beings by respecting diverse, peaceful beliefs and faith. and reject any ideology that sanctions or justifies or glorifies brutality and murder. With great sadness, just as we commemorate the 100-year anniversary of the Armenian genocide, we see and hear of thousands of innocent human beings murdered, raped, enslaved, evicted out of their homes and cities, and oppressed purely for refusing to renounce their faith. In February, the self-proclaimed Islamic State released a video recording of Coptic Christians being murdered purely for refusing to renounce their faith. And just over the weekend, we see more recording of Ethiopian Christians being murdered. We pray for the repose of the souls of these innocent men, a change of heart for those who took their lives, but above all, we pray comfort and strength for their families and communities, and many around the world who may not have known them, yet are left to mourn such a tragic and unnecessary loss of precious lives. We pray that the Almighty God cause these perpetrators of their barbaric and evil crimes to reevaluate that evil ideology that leads them to commit such vicious actions. We ultimately pray for the peace of the whole world and for the peace of this great city of ours. We pray for the continuing respect and solidarity among the faith leaders of Los Angeles, and that we are always there for each other and always supporting each other in good times and in bad times. We thank and appreciate all the effort of the Council Member O'Farrell and Council Member Englander and Jumana from Human Relations Commission for coordinating and providing the faith leaders of Los Angeles this platform where the city's faith leaders are able to come together and show solidarity in condemning the rising persecution of innocent people in the world. And to celebrate our unity and shared compassion of our fellow human beings, we pray that the principles of this resolution be emulated throughout our city, the nation, and throughout the world. Thank you, and God bless.
My name is Jihad Turk, and I am the president of Bayan Claremont, which is the nation's first Islamic graduate school or seminary educating the next generation of American Muslim religious leaders. And we're doing so here in the county of Los Angeles, in the city of Claremont. And it's no coincidence that we began this kind of education here in the diverse Southern California region, because we are the world's most diverse, religiously diverse city. We are here as faith leaders for three reasons. The first is to express our deep concern and care for those around the world that are suffering because of geopolitical instability, because of religious bigotry, and our concern for the souls who have passed away before, but those who are suffering till this day. We condemn the atrocities, the mass murder of the Armenians of a century ago, of those who suffered under the Holocaust, of the many Jews and other communities that lost so many lives during that conflict, and also of the continuing conflict that we see going on today throughout the Middle East, not the least of which is throughout places like Iraq and Syria, but also in places like Yemen, and as we saw most recently in Gaza this past summer, the loss of so many lives of innocent women and children. We are here as faith community leaders to share and express our concern and care for those souls. But we are also here, and this is the second thing I have to share, we are also here to express our hope. We have hope as people of faith that we can reclaim the role of religion to be a force for good in the world. That as people of faith who believe in God and who value compassion and the value of human life, that we can work together, not only here in Los Angeles, and not only serve as a model here in Los Angeles, but an inspiration for the world. And lastly, we come together to reaffirm our commitment to working together. We are here in a proactive way, not in a reactive way, to get to know each other as leaders, but also commit to having our communities know each other, so as to protect the lives of those who feel so vulnerable here at home, and to not allow the conflicts around the world to spread to our shores here in the United States of America. I had the privilege a few years ago of traveling with City Councilman Tom Labange to France. And we looked at the integration of ethnic and religious minorities on that trip. And we brought with us a diverse delegation from the city of Los Angeles. And we saw on that trip, Tom, some of the challenges that we face, but how far we are on this journey, how much ahead of the game we are compared to so many other places in the world. So I thank you for this opportunity, for giving us this platform. And I just want to conclude with sharing 2 verses from the Quran, from the Islamic scripture, that inspire me and so many Muslims around the world to rededicate themselves to the cause of peace and reconciliation. The first that I'm going to recite in the Arabic and then in translation reads, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. O mankind, we have created you, but from a single pair of a male and a female. And we have made you into nations and tribes so that you may get to know one another, not that you may despise one another. The best of you in God's sight are the ones who conduct themselves with righteousness. And finally, the Quran teaches, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. And God Almighty says, and we have given dignity to all of the children of Adam. And that's what we are here to reaffirm as faith leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well done. Thank you. Colleagues, we are the City of Angels. At the top of this building, since 1928, there's been a beacon of hope shining across the city. Let that beacon of hope be what illuminates the rest of the world on how we can be a pluralistic society, the example to the rest of the world that Los Angeles not only is a religiously pluralistic society and civilization, but we coexist peacefully and we do set the example for the rest of the world. Let that be the spirit in which we celebrate today. Thank you so much.
Mr. O'Farrell, if you could just hold 1 minute. Mr. Koretz. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to Mitch and Mitch for putting together this amazing day. I actually didn't think I would know many folks in this group, but I actually have friends of just about every religion in this group. And I think it helps make the point that this is the most diverse city, perhaps in the world, ethnically, spiritually, religiously. It's the most unified city, I believe, as we see here. And it's unfortunately quite the opposite in many places. I think it's very appropriate that you have this day because we see almost every day in the most tragic of ways religion misused as an excuse for violence. And here we're showing it absolutely doesn't have to be. It is a distortion, it is a twisting of religion to kill in the most vile ways in God's name. And this today, I believe, will be a way to get the message out to the world. This is not the way religion was intended. This was not intended by anybody. And this is a message we have to have start here, hopefully spread to the rest of the world, and someday end this tragic and barbaric occurrence that we are seeing in other places with religion as the excuse. So I thank you all for being here and representing the unity that I believe is Los Angeles.
Again, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. And with that, I want to invite everyone to put that symbolism to your feet this Friday morning when we have the March for Justice, starting in Hollywood at 10 a.m. At 9:30, we'll dedicate the Armenian Genocide Memorial Square, and everyone's invited. And that will be our salve for injustice across the world this coming Friday. I invite everyone to join us. Thank you.
No, thank you.
We're going back. Let's y'all come over here.
Members, I'd like to acknowledge we had two former colleagues that joined us today. We had Cindy Misakowski. Cindy, where are you? Can we give Cindy a round of applause? And we have Zev Yaroslawski here. Let's give the grumpy old man a round of applause. Welcome to you both. Yes, forthwith on 16 per Mr. Labange. And Mr. Koretz, I'm going to ask you to begin to make your way to the center aisle. So now we're going to turn the floor over to Mr. Paul Koretz. Mr. Labange. Mr. Koretz, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. President and members. It's my distinct privilege to lead a special presentation for a union leader who many of you know, T. Santora. T is the greatly respected President of Communication Workers of America, Local 9003, right here in Los Angeles. And CWA is one of the nation's largest unions, representing 600,000 workers in a number of key industries, including telecommunications, healthcare, public service, education, manufacturing, media, and the airline industry. CWA represents approximately 2,500 workers in the greater LA metropolitan region. And T, I'm so, there you are. Happy to welcome you here today along with your husband, Jack Jackson, and some CWA colleagues. T began his career with CWA in 1978 as a shop steward, representing his co-workers at GTE. He was first elected to union office as a local vice president in 1985, which was around when I started my political career, which is why it seems like he's been there the whole time I have. He's been working as a full-time representative since then for a full 30 years. So today we're celebrating his service in elective office for those 3 decades, and we want to congratulate him on such a landmark achievement. In addition to his role as CWA 9003 president, he's a national co-chair of the Telecom Ad Hoc Committee. He is a legislative and political chair. He is active as a leader in nonprofit charitable organizations. He was recently appointed by Mayor Garcetti to the LA Workforce Investment Board, where he serves on the executive committee and chairs the Apprenticeship Ad Hoc Committee. He is a well-educated labor leader as a graduate of the National Labor College at the University of Baltimore, and he earned honors with his degree in union leadership and administration in 1991. He has a very lengthy resume, which I will somewhat cut short in terms of his union leadership, but his activism also includes the civil rights movement, where he was the past co-president of Pride at Work, AFL-CIO, the Hate Crimes Task Force of the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, the CLUE HIV/AIDS Labor Speaks Out program, and many, many others. He was married in 2008 to his partner of 17 years, Jack Jackson, and Jack is an attorney specializing in labor and disability rights and is the former president of the Lesbian and Gay Bar Association of Los Angeles. T is appreciated by his peers as a strategist for worker and civil rights, as a committed mentor. He is currently the designated mentor in the CWA Next Generation program. He is also an accomplished artist specializing in abstract painting, and he studied fine arts at Santa Monica and Grossmont colleges. T is absolutely a Renaissance man, a man for all seasons, and a true champion for workers and their families. And so without further ado, I'd like to ask T to share some thoughts.
Thank you, Councilman Koretz. This is a great honor. I know that for many, this is an agenda item you'd like to get through, but I do want to say thank you so much for taking the time, for giving me this moment. This is not about me. As any of you who are elected know, we accomplish nothing alone. And so thank you for taking the time to recognize me, my amazing colleagues who are here with me, the communications workers of America who live and work in this great city. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to ask if there are any of his colleagues that would like to say a few words as well.
You're free to vote.
I think we're going to vote for this
Okay,
man.
I guess I surprised them.
Good job.
And any of our colleagues on the queue?
This is great recognition. There's nothing like teamwork. This is what it embodies. And congratulations to you and Mr. Koretz for this great honor that you bestowed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I'd like to present this commendation from the City of Los Angeles.
Hi, my name is Marissa Remsky, and I'm the Executive Vice President for CWA Local 9003. And I will say that T. Santora, thank you. T. Santora has been more than just a boss to me. He's been a mentor, a leader. My local and his local merged 4 years ago and became one local, and he is somebody who exemplifies unity, leadership. He is such a great man, and I'm proud and honored to be here today honoring T. Santora. Thank you.
And thank you again, T, for all your great work over the last 30 years.
All right, Sergeant, if you follow Mr. Koretz's deputy right there, he'll lead the way to the room. Madam Clerk, I'm going to do item number 26. We do have the family here as well. Mr. Kokorian, we're going to call on item 26. I do have 3 cards, but the family is here. Donna Pearman, do you wish to speak? The family is here, Donna. Excuse me, stop. Sergeant, please clear the desk. Mr. Kokorian. Mr. Kokorian, excuse me. I'm going to call on Mr. Kokorian first. Thank you.
Me first, Donna.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, yet again, a neighborhood and a family has been shattered by yet another tragic hit-and-run, not accident, hit-and-run crime. On Friday, February 27th at 8:20 in the evening, Melva Chapman, a 57-year-old resident of Sun Valley, a mother, a sister, a daughter, was suddenly taken from us in a horrendous accident which became a horrendous crime as soon as the callous driver who struck her and took her life fled from the scene. The magnitude of such a loss, of course, is incalculable. It's unimaginable for most of us. And yet, here we are again with yet another case like this, an unthinkable tragedy that became an unthinkable crime. We have to try to remind the people of our city yet again that accidents happen, traffic accidents happen, but if something like this occurs, you have to stop, you have to render aid. You can't leave a person, a human being with a family, with loved ones, a human being who needs help at that moment. You can't leave them and flee the scene, because as soon as you do that, you lose your own humanity and you become a criminal. So I want to thank Mr. Buscaino for his strong leadership in this, and Mr. Englander and many others on this council who continue to fight to try to address the hit-and-run scourge that we have in this city, the hit-and-run crisis that we have in this city. But in this case, our efforts were not enough, and in this case, Melva Chapman's life was taken. So the Los Angeles Police Department has been working this case. The Los Angeles Police Department believes that a reward can be useful in the investigation of this case. And so we're here today to side with this family and to offer the police department the support that they need in offering a reward which hopefully will be enough to be able to get the information that they need to conclude this investigation and to bring some small measure of peace and of closure to this family that's continuing to grieve. So before I ask the family to speak, I would like to ask LAPD Detective William Bustos to come forward. Detective, if you could please offer a few comments about this crime.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. President, honorable council members, we are investigating this tragic traffic collision that occurred on February 27th at Lemp and Saracoin in the community of North Hollywood. Ms. Chapman was in the process of crossing the street at 8:20 in the evening, a Friday evening. And when she was crossing the street, she was struck by what we believe, based on our physical evidence, a 2005 to 2011 Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, white in color. We anticipate there being damage to the left front. After the impact happened, which was very severe, Ms. Chapman was severely injured. However, the driver chose not to stop. That driver was in the best position to contact the police, call 911, summon for aid, but did not happen. That driver chose to leave the scene, becoming a felony hit and run. We have been working this case as it was described by Mr. Krikorian. However, we ran out of leads. We have been working with the family. We have reaching out to the community through the media. However, we ran out of leads. And so we are here before you requesting that please help us by approving this reward. We believe that this monetary incentive will cause for somebody out there who knows about where the whereabouts of this driver, the location of the vehicle, to give us that information. And please call us at 818-644-8000. You can also call anonymously, but we need that information so we can close this case, but more importantly, for the family so that they can have closure and begin the grieving process. So we ask that you help us with that approval of the reward. Thank you.
Thank you, Detective, and thank you for your vigilance and that of Valley Traffic's and constantly fighting against these crimes and trying to investigate them when they occur. I'd like to now ask Gloria Gallarza, who is Melva Chapman's sister, to say a few words.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Melva Chapman's oldest sister. My sister was a great person. She helped the homeless. She was an A student all the way from high school on. She came in 1970, Miss Teenage Pageant, second runner-up. She's just a beautiful person. She worked for the phone company for 20 years. After that, she decided to settle down and have a family. She has one son only, and he's very devastated what's going on. Myself and my family have been trying to put posters out to see if we have any leads. However, I had to stop like a couple weeks ago because my fiance, he's going to pass. They're going to unplug him on life support tomorrow. So I have no one right now to be helping me put out more posters. The detective's been very helpful, keeping in touch with me, let me know what's going on. We need closure. We're from Texas originally. My sister was born down here. My mother's 91 years old, and we lost my father 6 years ago. And once again, we just need closure. She was a loving sister, a mother, an aunt, and we're lost without her. Every time we hear the doorbell ring, we're thinking it's her that's coming home. But we know she's not going to come home. And we were all very close, and I just can't speak anymore. I just miss my sister, and I want closure for me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you, members. I'd ask that we do try to help this family bring closure. I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Did you want to say a few words as well? Did you want to speak? You don't need to, but if you'd like to, you may.
Oh, well, I'll say just a few words.
Okay.
I'm Evangelina Esquivel. The mother of my girl. And it was a hard thing to hear early in the morning the policeman knock at my door telling me the news, the horrible news. And I hope no other parents will pass through this. But we have real bad town in Sun Valley that the people are always speeding on those streets, and there's no signs of low speeding and no signs of stops or those bumps that they put on the roads. We don't have them. And I know for sure a lot of other parents are going to go through the same thing on this summer, because on these streets, they always speed a lot. And I hope something can be done about it. Thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart.
And again, members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. We're going to get the aye vote. Mr. Krikorian, if you would follow the city attorney's direction. If you would like to escort the group, we will vote on it. But I do have cards.
Somebody's waiting. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
We are taking yours in the hall.
Mr. Walsh? Thank you. Ms. Perlman? If you could hold right there, Ms. Perlman, for a second. And Wayne Spindler, still want to speak, Mr. Spindler? a pass on that one card. Thank you, Mr. Spindler. One moment, Donna. Donna, just a second, Donna, just a second, please. Sergeant's just going to straighten that out real quick.
Okay, it's not going to be too long. Anyway, my condolences is to family. That's a tragic loss, and that could happen to anyone, but I hope it doesn't. My condolences. I know it devastated that family. So I hope you heard about where that was, so you can put up stop signs, do anything that won't allow so much traffic, speeding along there, so we'll take another victim. And we need to go after the people. I hope that when they find this person that did the hit and run, that they need to give them the full penalty of, because that's murder, hitting and running and not helping somebody out, saving their life. That's murder. So I hope that I hope they find this person, and I hope they throw him in jail forever. Thank you.
Okay, that completes the public comment on that. Madam City Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
14 ayes. In addition to that, forthwith on that matter. And before I call on Mr. Weezer, I just want to take a moment as chairman of the Planning Committee of the City Council, Planning and Land Use. We'd like to recognize Renee Weitzer right now. Renee Weitzer, please stand and be 35 years, a veteran of city service. Give Renee a big hand. Eddie Weitzer is next there. Thank you. Renee has completed her service to the city after serving Joel Wax, John Ferraro, and little old Tom LaBonge. And next to you, please greet the great Sidney Misakowski. They were the best friends and continue to be, and collaborate on many good land use decisions for everything. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Weezer, it's your turn to go right now.
Yes. Pass in.
Stacy.
Well, thank you very much, and huge congratulations to Renee. Wonderful work you've done. Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. And this morning, it's my honor and great pleasure to introduce, and for those of you who know, a great band that had it started with its popularity here in Los Angeles, that boomed throughout the rest of the United States, and obviously started in Mexico. And I'm talking about none other than Banda Machos. Machos proudly hails from the town of Villa Corona, Jalisco, which is about 45 minutes south of Guadalajara, Jalisco. In 1990, 13 young men came together to form a musical group, quickly recording and releasing their first album, Serían Las Dos, composed primarily of cumbias, rancheras, and corridos. Banda Machos quickly became known as La Reina de las Bandas, which means Queen of the Bands, due to their unique blend of banda, quebradita, and ranchera sounds. And it popularized the genre of techno banda and the famous dance La Quebradita, which became a social phenomenon in the 1990s. Banda Machos cleverly combined traditional banda sinolense sounds and instruments with their electronic instruments to create the famous quebradita dance through songs of humor, irony, and artistic exaggeration, all in the context of contemporary politics and other issues. Their music is lively and contagious. Even when their lyrics are sad or thought-provoking, their infectious sound makes listeners want to dance. Their signature motto, heard in between their songs, is Arre Machos. ¿Cómo se dice? Arre Machos. There you go. And it's used as ánimo, which is meant to encourage each other, but more importantly, to encourage the listener to keep moving forward. Banda Machos came to LA in the early 1990s, shortly after forming their international debut at El Pueblos Olvera Street, our city's birthplace. And it was quite the debut. There were close to 250,000 spectators in attendance that day. It was also here in Los Angeles where they were featured in a popular radio station then called La X that contributed to their fame in the United States. And today, in the city of Los Angeles, Banda Machos has come full circle. Banda Machos performed at the headliner for Fiesta Broadway in 1999 on their 10th anniversary. And this year, as Banda Machos celebrates their 25th anniversary, they are returning to headline Fiesta Broadway this Sunday, April 26th at Grant Park. And they're not just great and prolific performers. I can tell you from personal experience that Banda Machos is committed to helping improve our community and inspire others who are passionate about music. Last year, I partnered with them to donate music instruments to one of our music schools in Boyle Heights, the neighborhood music school, as they celebrated their 100th anniversary. It was a great day and a special treat for the students. And the highlight of that day was when Banda Macho performed Mi Luna, Mi Estrella. This year marks Banda Machos' 25th anniversary as a performance group, and we wanted to make sure the city of Los Angeles congratulate them in their incredible milestone and welcome them once again to Fiesta Broadway this Sunday at Grant Park. And now, if I could introduce to you Arturo Avila, one of the original founders of Banda Machos, who will share a few words. Arturo? ¿Vas a hablar español o inglés? Español. Español, sí. Gracias. Dice poquito y luego ella dice en inglés y esto le digo poquito y luego ella dice en inglés. Bueno.
Hola, buenos días.
Good morning, everybody.
Gracias, cónsul José Huizar.
Thank you so much, Council Jose Huizar.
Muchas gracias a todos los medios que están aquí.
Thanks to all the communication medias that are here.
Nosotros, Banda Machos, estamos muy contentos de recibir este conocimiento.
We, the Banda Macho, are very happy to receive this acknowledgement.
Y por estar festejando los 25 años de carrera artística.
And to celebrate the 25th year anniversary of our career.
Para nosotros es un gran orgullo estar aquí presentes.
For us, it's really wonderful to be here with you.
Y queremos decirles que Los Ángeles es una ciudad muy importante en nuestra carrera.
And we want to tell you that Los Angeles is a very important city for our career.
A principios de los 90, una estación de radio aquí en Los Ángeles nos apoyó mucho.
At the beginning of the 90s, a radio station here in Los Angeles gave us a great deal of support.
Y la verdad estamos muy contentos porque Los Ángeles fue la primera ciudad que tuvimos nuestro primer evento, que fue en la Placita Olvera, en Huntington Park.
And to tell you the truth, we're really happy because Los Angeles was the first city that helped us. We had our first event at the Placita Olvera and Huntington Park.
Y de aquí partimos a las diferentes ciudades de Estados Unidos como Chicago, Texas, Nueva York.
And from here we went to different cities in the United States like Chicago, Texas, New York.
Y nosotros somos de Villa Corona, Jalisco.
And we are from Villa Corona, Jalisco.
Y nos sentimos muy orgullosos de traer nuestra música a toda nuestra gente latina que siempre nos ha apoyado durante los 25 años.
And we are from Villa Corona, Jalisco, and we feel really proud to be able to bring our music to all our Latin people that have always supported us.
No hay más que agradecerle a toda la gente que nos apoya por cada uno de los integrantes de la Banda Machos y muchas gracias. Nuestro representante aquí radica también.
And I want to thank you on behalf of all the representatives of the Banda Macho and our representative live here.
Ya, y pues muchas gracias a todos.
And thank you so much to everyone.
So, Mr. President, on their 25th anniversary, we got them a nice, goldly plated, colored, I should say, framed to celebrate Banda Machos, La Reina de las Bandas, on their 25th anniversary and their strong connection to the city of Los Angeles. They represent what is happening so much these days, where we have a bicultural, binational relationship with our friends to the south from here. And so congratulations once again to Banda Machos.
Felicidades! Mr. Weezar, turn around. Betsy's going to get a great shot. I want all the fellas to take their hats off and cheer. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey! There's the shot. Front page tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Vamos a pasar por acá, tomar la prensa y también unas fotos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weezar. Let's go back to the agenda and go to item number 1.
Item number 1, call special for cards.
Mr. Walsh, please. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you very much. Item 2.
Item 2, call special for cards.
Sean Murphy.
Item 2, I support it.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns another liquor license, sale of alcoholic beverages. You get drunk, you get in your car, you hit someone, you kill them, you run away, and the city council comes up here and offers a $50,000 reward and exploits the family the way you just did. It was disgusting the way you exploited this previous family. And where is this? We need a 100% freeze on liquor licenses. This is the hit-and-run capital of the world. That's what Mr. Buscaino said. And what is the place where you're going to add another liquor license for the convenience of hit-and-run drivers? The bootleg theater. Despicable. Vomitous. The blood is on your hands.
Herman, Mr. Herman.
Unthinkable, a magnitude of consumption for alcohol and abuse to the taxpayers. All of you here today. You heard Mr. Krikorian's little cry, unthinkable, unthinkable. Why don't you stop and freeze all the alcohol permit sales, and then maybe we can have a fighting chance to walk across the damn street without getting killed or injured in Los Angeles. The little man's podium up there really don't think about you, all of you, because if that was true, we wouldn't indulge on the convenience of the bootleg theater for alcohol and convenience, but rather it's a short way of saying, get drunk, get drunk, get drunk, get drunk. Because LA don't care about life, because if they did, each individual reserve officer here would do something about it, like I spoke about at the LAPD commission before Steve Soborov. Idiots.
Mr. Spindler Wayne.
All right, we'll find it one day.
All this hate, all this animosity against a beverage in a bottle. Alcohol doesn't kill people, people kill people. So, yes to this wonderful on-site liquor license, but make it for 24 hours a day, not at 2 a.m. It's a legal product. Why are we restricting this to 2 a.m.? It should be 24/7. Come in and get booze at 4 a.m., 6 a.m. before you come to work. Some of our city councilmen have been rumored to do the same. Join all of the alcoholics that run the city. Yes, to the bootleg theater performance on one condition: they can no longer be a bootleg if they're legal. So they're going to have to change their name to the Legal Liquor Theater Performance Venue. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, Jason Adams, no applause.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name's Jason Adams, and with my wife, I am the owner-operator of the Bootleg Theater.
No applause, no applause. Go ahead, sir.
Bootleg Theater has been operating for 15 years now as an art center in a low-income neighborhood where no other venues of its kind currently exist. In 1999, we purchased the premises to open a performing arts center, which was first called the Evidence Room. In 2006, we restructured and rechristened the space Bootleg Theater. Over the past 15 years, we have produced or co-produced over 150 productions, over 1,700 nights of music, created a youth theater program called Ramp Art, and collaborated with many nonprofits including OLA, the Heart Project, Homeboy Industries, Coach Art, and Cornerstone, among others. Thanks to citywide and national publicity and support from such outlets as KCRW, the LA Times, the LA Weekly, and national publications such as Condé Nast Traveler and American Theater, the Bootleg Theater brings people to the neighborhood that would otherwise not come. This serves multiple purposes for the adjacent community. One, demystifying an area of the city which is unknown to people from the West Side, Orange County, and the valleys. Two, creating a meeting place in the community where adults can come for an evening of live performance, theater, music, dance, readings, and film without having to travel miles and miles to enjoy culture. And three, validating that the Bootleg believes in and will struggle to achieve diversity at every level. In 2007, we began selling beer and wine to our patrons after receiving our CUP and ABC license, and have operated without incident. The response from our old and new audience has been enthusiastic and has provided a much-needed revenue stream to keep our performance arts center alive.
Thank you, Mr. No applause. You're disrupting the meeting. Thank you. Now let's prepare to vote. That ends the public comment. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, let's move on. We'll do item 23. Sean Murphy, item 23.
Yes, item 23. It's another item I support. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Now we'll move to item 22, Donna Pearman.
Mr. President, there's a request to send item 23 forthwith.
Without objection.
Oh, yeah, that's about Canoga Park. Yes, we need to improve the Canoga Park industry over there. We need to get better on the antique row. So I hope when you do the improving of the Canoga Park that you bring back the antique stores and bring back more of them, because I used to be called Antique Row over there in Canoga Park on Sherman Way. So I hope to see that again. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Item 28, Mr. Murphy.
I'm against this item. Thank you.
Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, so we're going to now move into, for a little while, general public comment, and then we'll go back to the agenda. I'm going to take some of these general public comment cards. Is there an Elena Pop, Alex Nagy, and Gilda Valdez? No applause, no applause. Please come forward and identify yourself.
Good morning. My name is Elena Pop, and I am a housing rights attorney, and I'm one of the 15 women that is fasting. I'm fasting because I'm tired of representing salt-of-the-earth workers who are forced to choose between feeding their children and paying the rent, and therefore find themselves in eviction. I'm tired of losing affordable rent-controlled units in Los Angeles for that very same reason. We don't need a study. 48% of Los Angeles wage earners earn less than $15 per hour. 70% of them are women. Half of those are single moms. 1/3 earn less than $12 an hour in a city where 28 is needed to pay for an average apartment. And for those of us that are concerned about nonprofits, Mr. Farrell particularly, I am the director of a small nonprofit, and we've made a commitment to bring us to 15, and I ask all of you to do the same.
Thank you. No applause, please. No applause. If I could have the next speaker, and please identify yourself.
Good morning. My name is Alexandra Nagy, and I'm an organizer with Food and Water Watch, and this is all of our 6-day fasting. I'm fasting for 15 because access to healthy food and clean water is tied directly to access to a living wage. At Food and Water Watch, we fight the corporate takeover of our democracy and our economies and the corporate control of our food and water systems. We fight food insecurity via work on the National SNAP program, which is a lifeline for workers making poverty wages. LA County leads the nation in food insecurity, which is just a fancy way of saying LA County has the highest rates of hunger. The workers in this great city, especially the food workers, pad the pockets and feed the greed of the CEOs of McDonald's and Walmart, but ironically don't have enough money in their pockets to feed their families. We are fasting to highlight this injustice and to demand nothing less than 15. We need to end poverty wages now.
Ms. Valdez, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Gilda Valdez. I'm the Chief of Staff for SEIU Local 721, but I am also the President of Fast Food Workers in Los Angeles and the Fight for 15. I think you know that we've been fasting at your doorstep now. This is day number 6, and we're not going to go away. Bottom line is we've been talking about raising the wage in Los Angeles. We can't wait any longer. We have a movement in this country and around the globe to fight for $15. The income inequality keeps growing. And as far as we're concerned, we can't wait 5 years to get to $15 an hour. We need it now.
Martha Sanchez, please come forward.
My name is Martha Sanchez with ACE, and I'm fasting for 15. I grew up watching my mom fasting because she couldn't earn enough money to feed us. I was so hungry that I ate my pencils, erasers, and paper at school because I never had a breakfast at home. The only reason I have a roof over my head, it is because we are 3 families sharing the same house together. Yes, we are 19 people living in the same house. My husband earns $30 per hour, and my brothers 9 and 10, and we can barely afford to pay the bills every single month. If we could get a chance to earn $50 each, I know that everyone in my family will be able to afford their own space to live. If you think that what I'm doing is too drastic, it is because you don't know that thousands of families have been forced to fast themselves because they don't have enough income to thrive. Thank you.
No, thank you. Angie Godoy. Angie Godoy, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Angie Godoy. My friend here, who is also fasting, TJ Michaels, will be speaking, and she'll be my voice if I choke. I work at McDonald's on 7th and Alameda. I make $9 an hour. All my money goes towards helping my mom and pay the bills to just have a roof over my head with my siblings. I am fasting because I am 19 years old and I should have my life ahead of me, but I'm struggling. I want to go to college, but I can't because that's another bill. How am I going to pay for that if I don't have money? So now I sometimes think to myself, like most of our politicians think about who owns the restaurant and they give credit to who owns the restaurant, but it shouldn't be like that. You guys should give credit to the people who work at the restaurants. They are the one who moves it.
Thank you. Am I missing your card? I know I have. I thought I heard someone reference another name. I can't locate the card, but I do have Reverend Amorosa. And if there's another card, I need to find out. Would you go talk with him? So please come forward and welcome.
Good morning. I am Reverend Omarosa Manigault from the Weller Street Missionary Baptist Church, and I greet you and this esteemed body. I stand with these women in this solidarity fast because these women have to make very tough decisions. They have to make the decision to fill a prescription or fill their gas tanks. They have to make a decision whether to buy a bus pass or to buy baby formula. We must raise the minimum wage. We must stand in solidarity, and we must know that we are the ones to do it, and now is the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go back into the regular agenda, and then we'll do public comment. We'll go back to public comment. I don't have the card. I don't have the card. Please, just, I've got this. Just quickly. Miss, identify your, miss, whoever it is, identify yourself and please, identify yourself.
My name is Denise Barlage. I was employed at Pico Rivera Walmart, which was originally laid off. As you should be well aware by now, we have been fasting outside of City Hall since Thursday, April the 16th, demanding a $15 minimum wage. We write to you on day... Oh, okay.
Take your time.
Until last week, I was a 9-year employee at Pico Rivera Walmart making $12 an hour to help my husband make ends meet for our family. I have been fasting for 6 days for a great cause. My question to you is, are you civil servants for the working people? Are you civil servants for the large corporations who can go out and close their stores due to plumbing problems and displaced many families at this time? You don't know what it's like walking in my shoes. And if you did, as elected leaders, I should have the right to have you help me pay for those.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move forward. No applause, no applause. Item 14. Mr. Walsh, item 14. John Walsh. And Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman? You're right after Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, floor is yours.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential. This is a reappointment of Mr. Otto Padron to the Los Angeles Convention and Tourism Development Commission. Remember, they are the people who brought us the farmer's field. And the fools, the corporation spent $40 million on farmer's field. And it never happened. It was a fantasy. It was a fantasy of Mr. Otto Padron. I want to speak to everybody out there, worldwide investors. You want to lose your money, come here. The city council and the LA Times will tell you that they're going to build you and they're going to subsidize a field, and you will waste $40 million as a Canadian firm did. It is insane. Reappoint him. He's a fool. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Herman.
Mr. Speaker, our special guests in the back, all the children want to know why the Convention Center and Tourism Development Commissioners have not developed our safety in regards to being around the Convention Center. You lost a football team because of your greediness to taxes per seat. So I warn all you tourists, stay away from Los Angeles if you're trying to tour here. You're not safe because the short man on the podium there does not listen to me or you. All of you. He does not listen. So that's the reason why we do not have a football team.
No, that's not on the subject. Stay on the subject.
Well, it does say Otto Pardon for the Board of Los Angeles Convention and Tourism Development Commissioners. And you know what? I'm just going to hold my time to 1 minute because you don't even listen. I wore my big ears like Englander, and he's not even there to listen. So keep your 4 seconds. Bye.
All right, let's prepare to vote. No applause. You're disrupting the meeting. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Now moving to item 19. Ms. Pearman. And if we could find out where these young people have come from, so we want to introduce them. So if I could get Donna Pearman and Sean Murphy, come forward.
Isn't that nice? I never heard of Reseda near Sunset. Must be in a ritzy area. What exactly are you going to do there? What does it cost? And is it necessary? Meanwhile, the Valley has no representation. We need video conferencing in Van Nuys.
Stay on the item.
I just, if you're going to go on Reseda and Sunset, which I really don't believe needs anything there, then we can bring out video conferencing. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Mr. Murphy.
I'd rather be called Sean, and I'm against this item. And I'm glad the kids are here. I got kids who are fans.
Good. Thank you. All right, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Fuentes, you want to take up item 8?
It's going to take a little while, so I don't know if you wanted to facilitate the introduction of the Mighty Valiants from St. Genevieve. They belong to Ms. Martinez, but my daughter
let's
attends that school.
Let's introduce them first.
Are you waiting for them? Okay.
No, maybe since your daughter is.
No, but they're in Miss Martinez's.
Why don't we have you both say something? You go first.
We weren't quite ready, but welcome to City Hall. These are the elementary school students from St. Genevieve's in Panorama City.
Yeah.
Welcome to City Hall. I was hoping to get your teachers' names. That's what we were waiting for. Can the teachers please stand? Thank you very much.
Yeah, get them out.
One more time. Can I get the teachers to stand up? Thank you very much. And
You're
bring
not
me
a
the
teacher.
students of
Sit
St.
down.
Genevieve's from Panorama City, and welcome to City Hall.
Let's give them another round of applause. Kids, stand up. Let's stand up and look at yourself. Look at yourselves on television here. welcome to your City Hall. Now we'll take up item 8, Mr. Fuentes.
If I can have the Department of Water and Power staff come up. But as they're coming up, I wanted to recognize St. Genevieve under the direction of Mr. Horn, their fantastic principal. They are a national school of character, ladies and gentlemen. It is a fantastic school in Panorama City. I'm absolutely envious that Ms. Martinez has them in their district, but I wanted to give them a round of applause. And everybody say hi to Ileana when you get back to your school. She's my daughter. With that, let's go ahead and take up item 8. Colleagues, this is a very important matter that we're bringing before you for informational purposes. The city of Los Angeles' biggest strength in many ways is its ability to generate electricity and deliver water. And that makes it so that from time to time we have to make sure that we are performing on all cylinders. And many of you can attest to the fact that in the news there's a lot of concern about the management of the utility. So I felt that it was important that we bring the utility here today to give us something that we have asked for now, at least when I took office and has been asked for before, a benchmarking study. It gives us a sense to us where the utility is with respect to its nearest neighbors in terms of utilities in the world, both investor-owned and municipally owned. So let's go ahead and see where we are and where we need to improve.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Peltola. I'm the Director of Corporate Performance for DWP, and I'm going to walk through the benchmarking analysis due to time constraints. I'll jump around a little bit, but certainly I can go to any of the pages. If we look at page 2, just the background on this, again, as the council member stated, this benchmarking study has been requested on a number of forums, especially City Council put out a motion as part of the 2012 rate action. One of the items was that we were to perform a benchmarking study. This is the first of a 3-phase benchmarking effort. If you look on the graphic, the yellow is phase 1, where we're, if you will, peeling the onion 2 layers, looking at our overall costs, looking at some of the some functional costs as well. This is based on fiscal year 12-13, and as we look at each one of these things, first quartile will be the lowest financial, the best, the lowest financial. Fourth quartile would be the highest financial. What you're really looking for is second quartile to be in the median. Sometimes if you're in the first quartile, you may want to spend more money, and we'll see that. If we jump to page 6, as we have talked about numerous times, our rates are the lowest in the 3 investor-owned utilities in California. They have similar environmental regulations, weather patterns, and if you look at our residential, our A1 small commercial, our A2 medium commercial, and an A3, we are the lowest compared to all the investor-owned utilities. Edison, as you can see, is getting close on A2 and A3. However, if you go to page 7 on national electricity rates, and this is where we're comparing against a peer set, and each one of these you'll see on the left-hand side, large utility companies. That's about 36 utilities with more than 1 million customers. DWP has about 1.5 million customers. And the second peer set is the Western region, 26 different utilities that have more than 100,000 customers. So when you look at our residential electricity rates, you can see we're at the bottom of the 3rd quartile against the large utility companies in the Western region. We're in the 4th quartile. And then across on commercial industrial, we're in the 4th quartile. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, first is our weather. Our weather is a lot more mild than what you'll see in some of the other areas. For example, if you look at Phoenix, they turn their air conditioner on sometime probably in May and turn it off somewhere in November, so they use a lot more electricity, so that KWH number is higher. Additionally, California certainly is the environmental leader. That tends to drive costs up. So with the energy efficiency, one good thing is our customers on average compared to the national median use 30% less energy than the national median. If we go to the next page, total O&M costs. So our O&M cost is made roughly 70 to 75% of labor costs. So if you could only pick one financial metric, this would be the key financial metric that you would look at. And as you can see, against both the national large utility companies in the Western region, we're right near the median. So this is a good number, and it shows that relative to the other peer set, our costs are pretty much in line with what the median is. Page 9 shows the overall O&M. So we looked on the top there. You see what we just went over was the total. However, we broke this into the different sub-functional groups. Generation, which would be the power plants, all the different power plants that we have. Transmission, the large power lines you see when you're going to driving to Las Vegas. You see those large power lines, that's transmission. In fact, those generally are our transmission lines. Distribution, that will be what you'll see in each one of your council districts, the poles, the cross arms, the transformers, those various things. And then customer service O&M. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion surrounding that. You can see from a cost perspective, we're first quartile. However, I'll talk about a little about that in a couple of slides here, what that's done. And then A&G, we'll also talk about that, but that has a lot to do with centralizing the pension costs. A lot of that through the last MOU that was implemented recently will be addressed on an ongoing basis with the Tier 2 pension as well as the no COLAs for 3 years. So if we go to page 12, the distribution O&M. So this is, again, poles, transformers, all the things you'll see in the neighborhoods. Our O&M is fourth quartile. Much of this is driven by older infrastructure due to low capital spending. We have some benchmarks that we'll show you in a couple of slides that shows our capital spending and distribution is below where it should be. The high O&M does favorably impact reliability as you spend more money on that, and I'll show you the reliability. Our reliability is very good compared to the peer sets, and that's certainly someplace where you do want to be first quartile. We will need to evaluate this more as we go into phases 2 and 3, looking at the staffing levels, looking at the what is best practice in phase 3. If we go to page 13, customer service. Again, this looks good from a cost perspective. It's low cost compared to the mostly investor-owned utility peer set. However, I'll show you a comparison on the water side, as well as we've looked at the American Public Power, and our costs are higher when you compare against mostly municipally owned. We're third quartile when we do that against the publicly owned utilities. I won't go to it, but it's page 55 in the presentation that you have. Publicly owned utilities tend to focus more of the resources on the distribution rather than customer service. Next page, on page 14, is the A&G costs. So to be in line with how the investor-owned utilities do this comparison, they put all of their pension and benefits in the A&G O&M, in the administrative and general. So when we do that, we're fourth quartile. Again, this body approved a new MOU that is going to help us substantially on this. It will come in slowly, but we have 40% of our employees in the next 5 years eligible to retire. So when they retire, we will then have those new employees come in on the lower tier. We also have the no COLAs, which this will also benefit. Go to page 16. So distribution capital spending, this is what I was referring to earlier. If you look at this on the left-hand side, this is for fiscal year 12-13, you can see that we were underspending. We were in the third quartile compared to our depreciation expense, which is the industry standard metric. And we were low spending not only for fiscal year 12-13, but for the 3-year average on the right-hand side, which is fiscal year 10-11 through 12-13. So this tells us we're not spending enough money. This is something we will be coming back to, and we're looking at as part of our power reliability program to up the infrastructure spending, not only obviously on power, but also water as well. We've had some high-profile events that also lead to that. Page 17 is our SAFE and SAIDI. These are the national panels for reliability. You can see we favorably compare here. We're in first quartile and just on the top of second quartile. So this is very good. Basically, that 0.45 on the frequency means that our customers go on average 2 years without an outage. If we go to page 19, so page 19 is transmission and distribution losses. So this is one place where we see some differences on how we operate the system, as well as some places where we can look at and do some work to improve our metrics. On the left-hand side is the total losses. So our total losses are 13.1%. What that means is the amount of energy we generate to the amount that we collect from a customer, there's a 13% difference. Now, roughly 8.5% to 9% of that is explainable because we get 40% of our power from IPP in Utah, 10% of our power from Palo Verde in Arizona, and 10% of Navajo power, which also comes from Arizona. So that 60% of our power come from the other side of Las Vegas. That's the transmission losses. However, when we break it down further, you look in the distribution losses on the right-hand side, the 4.6, that's still too high. And we are getting a contract to go after and look for those losses and to identify how we can get those losses, as we call them, non-technical line losses, such as non-billed customers, fraud, energy theft, those sort of things, and we're in process of doing that right now. If we go to the next page, on page 20 is financial statement ratios. So on the left-hand side is net income per revenue dollar. So this is how much money do we have left over after all of our costs, all of our operating costs, our debt service costs. So while it's in the fourth quartile, that's where you want to be because it indicates our rates are not too high given our costs. So we're in the bottom. We're basically 4.3% of our revenue is left over after we pay all of the expenses, including everything that the power utility pays. On the right-hand side is uncollectible accounts. So uncollectible, it's important to look at this. This is where it's bad debt, essentially. Our customers are not going to pay these expenses. And this was 0.7%, and this was in fiscal year 12-13. In fiscal year 13-14, that went to 1.7%, and that's what we're now trying to work down our AR so that we can keep this at a reasonable level. The median that you see essentially is 0.3% for the utilities, and that's something that, again, we have a contract. The RFP is on the street now that we're going to work on the policies and procedures, among other things, to attack this and get this back to the roughly 0.3%. If we go to page 22 to go on water, and page 22, again, you can see our rates are very competitive, really, with only Pasadena being below us in this comparison across typical residential, high-use, single-family, and commercial. Our rates are competitive on the water side, even during this year where we had high purchased water expense. Page 23 shows on a national comparison, large utility, and by the way, all of the water comparisons are American Water Works Association, mostly municipal organizations. But you can see on the left-hand side on the national comparison, we're in fourth quartile. That's a couple of things. One, on a national level, most water utilities do not have to import their water. And secondly, the customers will not use as much water as you will in the western United States because they don't irrigate their lawns because they get it from rain. On the right-hand side is the western region. Again, a better comparison, closer. You can see that we're in the third quartile for that. And we do have, again, importing the water, which I'll talk about in the next slide. On the next slide, page 24, this is our O&M cost per customer. Again, probably the most important thing that we can look at from a financial perspective. And you can see we're third quartile for both large utility companies in the western region. This includes $56 million that we have for the LA Aqueduct O&M costs. So if we take that out, it would improve one quartile to be in the second quartile. Both of these are fairly good results for the O&M cost per customer. You see similar results in the O&M cost per million gallons distributed as well. Page 25, and this is a comparison where we looked at on the power side, we were first quartile for customer service, low cost. However, against American Water Works, where you have a comparison that goes against mostly municipally owned, you can see we're fourth quartile. So it reflects a difference in philosophy between how municipal organizations operate, which tend to spend less on customer service, versus investor-owns, which will tend to spend more on customer service and maybe less on the distribution side. Skipping to page 27, real losses, very similar. Not a bad result for the water. We're at 3.5%. You can see how that compares against the national panel in the western region, both in the second and third quartile. And on page 28, the reliability metric is for unplanned service disruptions per customer, and you can see we're second quartile on that. That's a favorable result. shows that we're near the median, so our water system overall for fiscal year 12-13 was fairly reliable. Going to page 30, just next steps that we will be taking. Following, we're going out and doing a citywide stakeholder outreach. We've done presentations already to the Energy Environment Committee. We've done it to the board. We're in the process of going to neighborhood councils. We'll be going out to discuss and solicit feedback on where we want to go in the more in-depth study when we start peeling the onions in phase 2 of the benchmarking study. But immediately, we're retaining a third-party consultant to assist us with energy losses. We're retaining a third-party consultant to help us with uncollectibles or bad debt. Distribution O&M, that's going to be a focus of where we go with the next phase, as well as customer service. Somewhere in the middle of what you see, investor-owned utilities probably spend too much on customer service. We're not spending enough. We got to do something in the middle of that. And then A&G, we got to continue to follow that. And the schedule for that is shown on page 31. Happy to entertain any questions. I realize that was at a fever pace.
Mr. President, if we could have the ratepayer advocate come up and help us translate to what all this means. It's very important information, and it's a very important story for all of us to tell. And I know, colleagues, that it's difficult to sort of all take in, but let's see if our ratepayer advocate can help out here.
First, a little bit of history. In the 2012 rate review, one of the key conclusions was concern over the relative increase of costs at DWP relative to their peers. And we encouraged this benchmarking effort so we could identify some of the differences and so we could make sure we maintain that position of at least best among the larger California utilities. The only utility that's better is another publicly owned entity, and that's SMUD, or Sacramento Municipal Utility District. So we encourage DWP to do this directly because benchmarking studies are best done when they're self-assessments, and the utility takes the lessons to heart and believes their own numbers. This is the first stage. The next stage is a more in-depth assessment of the key areas that Mr. Peltola has identified, and DWP has involved us thoroughly in the evolution and preparation of these studies.
Thank you, Mr. Pickle. And colleagues, I think the important thing here to take away, there's a couple of things. That this is just the beginning of a conversation of us being introspective and looking at what it is that the utility does and how it does it relative to other utilities in the state, but equally important to other utilities across the country. And the reason that's important is because as we're designing the utility to serve all of the ratepayers, we've got to do it in a way that's informed, and we have to understand what's working and what's not. So here's the good news. Our rates, by and large, with the exception of Pasadena as it relates to water, amongst the best rates in the state of California. That is a story that is often not told. In fact, many of you, I'm sure when you're out in the community, hear the exact opposite. A lot of concern and a lot of misperception as to what it is that they're actually paying for. Our rates, with the exception of water in the city of Pasadena, are better than anybody else's in the state of California. That's very good news. We also have tremendously high levels of reliability. Despite what it is that we see in the news and hear about from our neighbors, our reliability is on par, if not better, than anywhere else in the state of California. We do have some challenges, though. We do not spend as much money as we need to on the operation and maintenance of the system. We do not spend as much as we probably need to for customer service. We do not spend enough in trying to investigate how it is that we can collect receivables, that means bills that are due to us, and prevent losses to the system. So that's not bad news per se. It just gives us the ability to really hone in on what it is that this utility can do, must do for the ratepayers. Now, you have to shroud all of that in the context that we're living in right now. When we all, I should say most of us, came into office, We were dealing with audits of the trust funds. We're dealing with a state audit with the botched billing rollout. We're dealing with litigation and class action suits against the city of Los Angeles on many different grounds at the utility. We're dealing with the losses in the account receivables. All of that has to be calculated so that we can understand truthfully what is the revenue requirements of the utility. Only then do I think that we can back into trying to get to the recommendations that Phase 3 is going to give us, and only then will we be able to have an informed conversation on the revenue needs for the utility. So this is really good news. It's something that's a long time coming. It's something that's important for us to herald when we're out in the community about how important this utility is. And it's also important for all of us to make sure that we keep the utility accountable to the ratepayers. So for that, Mr. Peltola and Dr. Pickle, I want to thank you for the information we'll receive after we vote on this and file this. But it is the beginning of a conversation that is critical to the economy of Los Angeles. It's reliable water, it's reliable energy, it's a cornerstone of our economy, and I thank you, Mr. President, for the ability to make the presentation today.
Thank you. Mr. Labange?
Thank you very much, Mr. Fuentes. Thank you as chairman of the Energy and Environment Committee and all the work that's done here. I think you made a very good point in closing about the community outreach that's necessary and the need that we have to support them to make sure they get the right people out to listen to the community and tell the story. It's a tremendous history, Los Angeles. It's all based on water and power. And it's all based on the ability of this city to grow. And without water, we don't live. And this city has lived with water. Now we've got a big challenge. I see Mr. Adams. If you could take the center table, Mr. Adams, I have a question for you as you go forward. But I would want to make a driving point on your open houses. I do remember time, members, and I think, Mr. Cedillo, you have a field office in Lincoln Heights. Is that at Highland Park? At Highland Park, where there used to be a field office at an old Water and Power building. Water and Power had buildings down on Crenshaw. They still have a building on Crenshaw, but they have buildings in Hollywood closed. Look at that aspect to get out, whether you could coexist in city halls, whether it's the Hollywood Municipal Building, the Van Nuys City Hall, West Valley, wherever, get out where the people are. Mr. Adams, you've read this report, you've looked at this report. We're in a water situation here. Tell me, I'm standing here, I'm one of 15. Desalinization, does it make sense for Los Angeles?
It's not the cheapest option we have. We have a lot of options for water resources that we'll exercise before that. It could be a factor down the road, but right now there's a lot lower hanging fruit on the tree that we can pick first and meet our water
It could
supply
get
needs.
dusty there, Mr. Adams. It could get dusty, and I'm going, and I don't want to get down that road, see it get dusty. So I'm going to ask Avak if you could get a motion for me to have them begin the process of looking. I know Carlsbad is coming on real soon, and also Santa Barbara, to look at that, see what we need, because we should have it in our plan. And recycled water is so important. I feel bad as I'm leaving is that I spend so much time on the river supply conduit and not fighting more for reclaimed water. And it's there. And you're doing things for reclaimed water.
We are working with LA Sanitation to make sure we recycle every drop of water we can in the city, and that'll be the cheapest source, and then desal would follow that.
And okay, but I want to ask you another question too on that. Simple. You guys, engineers, out there at the spreading basins, now known as the Headworks, now part of the Silver Lake replacement, your engineers years ago thought about check dams and actually pump water out, put it back through. Can we do that again, Mr. Adams?
It's possible, yes. There are check dams in the river, and it's very possible.
Okay, I'm going to check up on you, okay? Because I want to let you know it's there. That means that we put these dams across the river and bring the water out where it's needed. So it's so important. And Mr. Pickle, thank you for your fine service to Los Angeles. I appreciate that there's other eyes looking at this. I'm very proud of Water and Power. I'm very proud of the history, but we have to be out to the people because it seems that they question it. So the one thing I just wanted to say, here's the 1947 report for the whole city government. And here's the report for you. Take all the valuable words and break it down to one sheet that says exactly how the money is spent, where it's spent on infrastructure, and how it's divided. And then people, the more information is the more knowledge, and that gives you the power, that's half your name, to inform the people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let us prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Mr. Koretz.
So I'd just like to ask that item 13 go forthwith, please.
Without objection, we're going to item 17, called special by Mr. Walsh and Mr. Spindler, Wayne Spindler. Item 17. No applause. No applause.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This concerns a BID district plan. I am all in favor of BID. I changed my whole opinion on this. Of course, across the street at Yucca and Argyle, we have an 8-story building totally run by gangsters. Take a look at it. It's on my website. They've got their signs up. They're in business, and they pay off the LAPD. But they don't pay off the BID. And when I went 6 months ago, the BID leaned on the LAPD, and we got those gangsters out. But they're now back in there. Stay away. There's a deal between the LAPD and the gangsters. And if I'm killed for saying this...
He is not talking about this item.
Stay on the subject. No, you're disrupting the meeting now. Please don't do it again. Mr. Wayne.
Yes, assessment levied on the 12 Los Angeles Department of Water and Power properties within the district will not be paid from the general fund. So who's it going to be paid by? That leaves the ratepayers. Yes, thank you again to the ratepayers of the city of Los Angeles for not being able to pay for anything related to water and power, but everything else.
Mr. Spindler.
Yes.
Make sure you stay on the subject. You're not close. Maybe you're looking at the wrong notes.
17.
Okay. Well, to conclude, I have to speak very slowly, like an old man.
No,
that
you got to
chairs
stay.
the
No, you have
committee.
to stay on the subject.
Arts District. The Arts District, we need art. Back in the day, I was an artist. Thank you.
Let us prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. President, there's a request for that item to go forthwith.
Without objection. Item 25, I have cards on item 25. Mr. Wayne Spindler, item 25. Mr. Walsh and Mr. Herman.
Yes, the famous Sunset and Vine bid business investment district. Well, what can I say about opening businesses in Los Angeles? For God's sakes, don't open a business here in Los Angeles. I mean, you'll be sorry. Everybody I talk to, I ask them, like on Sunset and Vine, should I open a business? No. And if I do open a business, say the magic words, campaign payoff. That's the only way you can run.
You're not on the subject. You're not on the subject.
It is. It's the truth. The only way you can have a business and have bids is if you pay off the city council and their surrogates.
You're not on the subject. Thank you very much. The next speaker, Mr. Walsh. Stay on. No, you just stay on the subject. You guys can speak here 2 minutes. Go on, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. I've lived adjacent to the Sunset and Vine BID in that neighborhood since 1976. When I moved here, you could eat off the street. This was a different world. and even Reagan was president then. But it was an excellent neighborhood, and now it's wild. It's out of control. Stay away from Sunset and Vine. Or just walk up the street and look at Yucca and Argyle. Look at that 8-story building. I have it on my website. It has the gang graffiti right there. EMS. That's who controls L.A. EMS.
Stay on the subject.
Look at it. And I'm telling you right now, stay away from Sunset and Vine, the BID. You're wasting your time. You'll die. You'll be killed in that neighborhood. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, Mr. Herman or H.
Wow, Angelinos. Another business improvement district, although there's no budget. The fiscal year of planning reports, as shown at the Public Works meeting this past week where I sat in for a busted sewer pipe.
Stay on this subject.
It's going to slow down the businesses in that area. That's all I'm talking about, but no one wants to hear that shit. Right, okay, that's fine. But I'm just pointing out that the Sunset and Vine fiscal year complies with the requirements of the state law, which it will probably not. Because, again, this is all about campaign payoffs. To
You're not on the
communicate from the
subject.
chair and the
You're
vice
not
chair
on the
of
subject.
Economic Development Committee relative to the Sunset and Vine property-based campaign payoffs I'm talking about.
Okay,
So
thank
again,
you.
the
Your
annual
time. You
planning
won't stay on the subject. Your time is expired. Okay, let's prepare sergeants. No, your time is just, we're going to vote on this now. No applause. You're disrupting the meeting. I've warned them about 3 times. The next disruption, I'm going to ask the sergeants to find them another place to sit, Mr. City Attorney. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Brings us to item 30. Mr. Wass passes, and Wayne Spindler, item 30. He passes. Let's prepare to vote on that item. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, we're going to take some cards on item 38. Do Donna Pearman, Mr. Spindler, Mr. Herman, Brian Barajas.
It says closed area, so I was hoping to let somebody else speak before me. But basically what we need to do is make it fair for the homeowner who's depending on these the water and power. And we need to go against the large developments that uses a lot of water. If we stop getting a whole lot of developments put up and where they use a lot of water, then we wouldn't have so much trouble stocking it over to the homeowners and the apartment owners who eventually will get their water and power bill. So, yeah, let's go after the big development, and let's stop developing lots of different areas so that we would have so that we make it fairer for the homeowner. Thank you.
Wayne?
Now, is the city of Los Angeles doing messed up in this lawsuit? It's the San Diego Water Authority versus the Metropolitan Water District. You have nothing to do with it. Nothing. The city of Los Angeles has nothing to do with this. You send 4 criminals from your Department of Water and Power to serve on the board. And one of them is Paul Peppa Pig Koretz, sits on the panel, and they already considered all of this. San Diego Water, their water was stolen. They were overcharged, abused. Now, you're even trying to steal their football team. So you stole their water, now you're going to steal their football team. I will not have any of it. One day, God willing, when I can sell all my shit and leave this place, I may go to San Diego to get some water. Because there's not going to be any water left here in L.A. It's just going to all be stored away and sold to the farmers. You're selling the water to the farmers. You're not giving it to the consumers. The consumers are cutting their usage 20 to 40% already. You're stealing their water. That's why you want to involve yourself in this, because you're going to go and going to ask MWD, can you give me more water to steal? And they're going to go, no, because we don't have the water. So for God's sake, stay the hell out of San Diego's business. It's a great city, and they have a Republican mayor. You know why? Because most of the voters are still not on Prozac, and they're not alcoholics yet. So please, don't get involved in this. Let San Diego alone and let them get back their water. Thank you.
All right, that Mr. Herman, and followed by Mr. Barajas.
Nothing, and nothing to do with it. Again, the city of Los Angeles, your big noses and big ears, get it? Big ears, should not be involved in the San Diego Water Authority versus the Metropolitan Water District, ET. Because last week, when John Walsh and Mr. Spindler and I joined the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, and Wayne was threatened to be thrown out, to remind you, no one wants to hear the peons like us say to all of you, foolish, foolish, foolish jobberishness to get involved to steal water. Again, if it wasn't for Mr. Koretz and boyfriend Dake, the mayor's boyfriend, at the Water Metropolitan meeting, we've never would have known this nothing but nothing to do with it business was going on. Shaky bullshit business of taking away from the taxpayers because all the big ears don't want to pay attention to the taxpayers who continue to tell you, stop messing with the water bills against DWP and pay us back for what you stole. That's your business, not the San Diego business. And to all you residents, you Republicans like myself, I say to you, keep up the good fight against the Democrats who F up the water in our districts.
Stay on the subject.
I'm talking about 510830 CFP 12/512466. This matter arises from the litigation filed by the San Diego County Water Authority against the dumbass Metropolitan Water District. Whatever. Stay out of it. Do nothing, you do nothing.
Mr. Barajas.
Boy. Well, I see two solutions to this. One, we all die because there's no water. Or two, we could produce the water and get rid of this stupid idea of suing each other. But it's not true. This problem, water fights, like I said, it's our choice. What are we going to choose? Are we going to live or are we going to die? Because the situation's going to get worse. The prices will be raised and the water will continue to diminish. So, in general public comment, our organization, LaRouche PAC, I'm going to provide a way out of this situation. But forget it. The only way I see this situation, and it's been going on for years, since 2000, the last time I heard, that it's been ongoing lawsuits, fights, but the way out is just to develop and get away from the idea that you can sue in order to get something that would not be there. We're losing water, and we need to develop water. So I don't know why I don't know what's going on with the boards of these governments, that they can somehow deal with the issue by suing instead of collaborating with each other and getting in the problem that we are facing is nobody has been dealing with the issue of water development. And so if you want to solve it, don't sue, build.
Okay, thank you. Sergeants, we're going to go into closed session. If you would please clear the council chambers. Oh, Mr. Parks?
Yep, we're going to handle 27.
Yeah, we're trying to find your staff. Well, let me just, on item 27, my recommendation would be that we send it to committee. I've been getting some calls on it. I'm sure you have. I think most of it is people not knowing exactly what all of this does. So if we were to do that, I promise that I would get it out before July 1st. But I at least want to have people
Is
come
something
in.
happening July 1st?
No, before then.
Oh,
No. I'm trying to help you out.
Let me just say this. We had an extensive hearing on this back in 2003.
It's
Dozens
13
of
years ago.
I know, but dozens of people came when they changed the name from South Central to South LA. This is no more than a technical amendment that says you can use an acronym in conjunction with South LA.
I concur. Okay. Just give us a few weeks. So that there are people that think now, and we need to let people understand really what this is. I think we can do it in a short period of time. There are people I think that may have forgotten, people that weren't involved back in 2002, 2003, and now people are questioning it, have questions about it. I think we answer, that question. You have a whole new group of folk.
Oh, yeah. But all I would say is in reading it, it just is very clear. It's basically an acronym. Let me ask you this. If we can get this back, when we say several weeks, it causes me concern that we may get beyond July 1st.
No,
I won't be here to vote
but
on
what I'm telling you is that I don't have a problem.
Okay.
I just think that there should be some notification with the public. I'm giving you my word that I'll get it back here before you're gone.
Well, whatever you want to do.
Well, that's what I want to do right now. So we'll refer it to committee. It is education in neighborhoods. So now if we can clear the chambers.
Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Mr. President, that brings council back to general public comment.
General public comment. Sean Murphy, general public comment. Sean Murphy, come to the front.
Carolyn Ramsey for the 4th District. I'd like her to be the councilwoman for the 4th District. I got a suggestion. Do general public comment first before sending people outside.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Again, the most important thing is to vote for David Ryu, RYU, if you're in that city council district, against Carolyn Ramsey, and that election is coming up in May. It is very important. Okay, they just had a survey of renters. This is the 9th worst city in America for renters. The only reason it's not number 1 is because during the Bradley years, they passed rent control. That could never happen now. But because of that, some of us long-term renters have reasonable rates. Hollywood is out of control. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Parks, I remember when you were a man and you stood up. Today you spread your cheeks for Herb. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I want to tell you right now, as far as HollywoodHighlands.org, visit it.
Harriet Elliott. Harriet here?
I'm using this to anyway. Last time I spoke at the Van Nuys City Council meeting, I talked to the city attorney, and he turned his back on me. I don't want to get into anything negative, but what I need to so close my son's case. I don't know why you turned your back on me. I don't want to say, okay, well, I know you probably didn't do it meaningfully, but the main thing is, how do I get my son's case closed? And what I was told by my private investigator is that you guys do it right here. You make a resolution. I need that done. My son was worth it. He was chosen by his girlfriend's parents. They saw what an adorable kid he was. One time during junior high, he did have some run-ins. Anyway, 9 seconds for you to tell me how to get a resolution to close this case.
Just briefly, the City Council does not have the authority to weigh in on the prosecutorial discretion or on whether to close a case or not. I believe you should take that up with the police department or the police commission.
All right, the next speaker is Jose Martinez. Jose Martinez. Mr. Martinez not here. Donna Perriman.
Anyway, reason why people don't come here, you made the public wait an hour last week for public comment while you were in closed session. It's wrong. And it's wrong to make Van Nuys wait for 4 months. You don't care for the Valley. Reopen Van Nuys video conferencing. I plead with Jews, go to Republican Party. Be against Obama policies, which sides with Iran and doesn't back Israel. And Christians, Obama allows Christians to be slaughtered in the name of terrorist Islam. And do not vote for Hillary Clinton. 8 more years of Obama policy. Obama's policies with Iran could bring us nuclear war. In my opinion, Obama is a war criminal. After ISIS comes in our country, it will be a mandatory Muslim country with no freedom to change. Allah Akbar. We'll have Sharia law. Hillary is responsible for Benghazi. She won't turn over her records. She's destroyed needed emails. Hillary is not for you. She is for herself. And and Hillary is not for the African Americans to succeed and prosper.
Brian Barajas. Brian Barajas.
All right, so this is a town hall event over the internet titled National Town Hall Webcast on Western Water Crisis and the Nazi Occupation, Burn the Bushes and Let the Water Flow. The reason why this is a Nazi policy is because Governor Brown had years to develop the water projects needed for droughts that scientists already knew was about to happen anyways. Pat Brown, his father, was for the Kennedy administration's water project programs, and Jerry Brown came in and destroyed this country, world, whatever you want to call it, but that's a Nazi tactic because the end result of not developing is called genocide. So join us, LaRouchePAC.com this Saturday at 12.
Mr. Herman.
In regards to item number 2 this morning and item 26, the death, how alcohol abuse kills us. Prevenir enfermedades, informar de reportes de abuso, negligencia de alcohol abuse. Prevenir, reducir amenazas graves a la salud, a seguridad de calidad personal. Sí, con agencias o provisiones de la salida para las actividades autorizadas por ley de protector presidencial. Si hay leyes especiales que protegen algunos limpiados de información médica como servicios de salud mental, tratamiento y para informaciones por abuso de sustancia. In other words, stop giving out permits for alcohol license. You're killing American people. You are negligent and liable for the deaths of every hit-and-run person in the city of Los Angeles. All of you.
Michelle De Vera.
Hi, I'm Michelle De Vera, District 13, City Council Mitch Farrell, and my comment is on home sharing, home economy. I think it's important to know that a lot of these people who are hosts that are home sharing do a lot for the parents, at least for my case it is. I started it to help my parents through supplemental income for their health, and it now is allowing me to expand, hopefully, a business in my profession, which is pastry. I'm a pastry chef, and it allows me to employ people that are truly passionate about what they do. It allows me to help my parents first and foremost, and it creates a sort of independence, a sort of entrepreneurship that most young people may not be inclined to do. And home sharing allows that freedom in which we can allow small businesses to really benefit from home sharing. And I think it's important for people to know that it's not just strangers coming in and out, but it actually supports the economy.
Is it Ren Bell or Ben Bell?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Ren Bell. I'm a theater teacher at Oakwood School in North Hollywood. We are here on behalf of the residents of the Villa Carlotta who have been unjustly and perhaps illegally coerced out of their homes so that a new corporation that takes it over can increase the rent. It's my hope that you will look into this matter. Starting tomorrow, they will be evicted from their homes. They are not just residents. They have built a beautiful community of artistry. And in my opinion, we want to keep Los Angeles, and not follow in the footsteps of New York City. We want to keep this city open and available for artistic communities everywhere. Thank you.
Eric Previn.
Pardon me?
I'm calling the names as I have. Eric Previn. Hey, Mr. Previn, you want to forfeit your time? I call you, you come speak. Good. Come in. They're going to be here. It's okay. I got everybody's name.
Well, they all shepherd in together. That's the only reason why I bring it up. I understand. Don't start my time.
Let's wait until I begin, sir. That's appropriate. Thank you. It's Eric Previn, city resident from District 2, and obviously that's in your district, the item they're complaining about, Mr. Labange. That becomes eminently clear. I would like this body to take seriously the open government rules. You know, today item 8 was the DWP item. I'm interested. I wanted to talk about the $30 billion proposal for by Mr. Shatner that, you know, is about bringing water down. I wanted to talk about the receivables. I wanted to talk about item 12 and 11, which both have to do with the Kearney Conflict Panel, which, as you know, is an area that I'm deeply interested by. And yet you have denied my access, and now you're going to prevent me from speaking beyond 60 seconds, while a city rule, Justin, and I'd like you to come up to the City Ethics Commission meeting at 1:30 today, where we can discuss it in an appropriate forum, points to the fact that you could have 5 minutes cumulative, but not if you want to speak on items that are only within the jurisdiction. Apparently only if they are bizarrely agendized items that, frankly, the speakers nor the listeners want to hear talked about.
Laurie Russell is the next speaker. Thank you. Laurie Russell.
Yes, Lorelei. I live on 2nd Avenue between Adams and Santa Monica Freeway. They have put up parking restrictions. And 2012, I just like them removed from 2nd Avenue. I have written Herb Weston. I have several letters here. I have a petition to having them removed off of 2nd Avenue between Adams and Santa Monica. And I would appreciate it if traffic or whoever would look into it. Thank you very much.
All right. Next speaker, Lucia Bella Fontanini.
Hi, I'm Luca Bella Facinelli, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of the Villa Carlotta residents. I'm part of the Oakwood Theater Department at my school. We're doing a play called Hot L Baltimore. It's by Lanford Wilson, and it has the plot is that a bunch of residents are being kicked out of their homes. This plot is happening 5 miles away from our school in present time, and we got involved with the residents. We're trying really hard to help save them from being kicked out of their house. Some of them have lived there for more than 50 years. This experience has taught me that plays and fiction are not just unreal. They have reality, and it's our job to make art real and to save people. So please look into the matter. We're having a protest today at 5959 Franklin at 3 p.m. Thank you so much.
Taylor Charles.
Oh, that's me. Hold on. Can I pull up something? Okay. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Charles. I go to Oakwood School. And I just wanted to mention one of the residents, Sam Fuller, has lived in the Villa Carlotta for 48 years. And he works as a waiter in the Hilton and hasn't retired even though he's over 80 years old. He spent his life savings on making this his home and adding furniture and refurbishing everything. The owners use this new image to sell the building. They're gutting everything. And I just also wanted to say that this is not a home for failing artists. This is where artists are born and inspired. Neil Patrick Harris, Quentin Tarantino, and the lead singer of Imagine Dragons all lived here. And I wanted to also reiterate that tonight there is an event called Hug the Carlotta. It's a protest for the eviction. It's at 3 o'clock at 5959 Franklin Avenue in Hollywood. It's 5959 Franklin Avenue in Hollywood. Thank you.
Wayne Spindler.
Let the revolution begin. 5959 Franklin Avenue. Stop the evictions. But parks, you sold them out on number 27. We can't call it South Central Los Angeles. We have to take the Central out because it's a bad place. We must forget about the riots and the poverty and the black people that live there because they're all leaving. They're moving to San Bernardino. They're all gone. So now SOLA is now going to be South Central LA. And there'll be no more white people and no more black people in Los Angeles. It is all gone. Solamente.
Jeremy Ray, is that correct? Jersey Ray? Okay. Next card. Michaela Brinsley. Michaela Brinsley. I think I got everybody.
Hello, my name is Michaela Brinsley, and I'm a junior at Oakwood School. I'm speaking on behalf of the students at my school and the residents of the Carlotta. We are inviting you to attend our event, Hug the Carlotta, at 5959 Franklin Avenue this afternoon at 3 o'clock. David Rhea will be attending, as well as many other press, and KTLA will be airing a radio show at 1:05 about this event as well. We are asking for you to support this because as artists, we are concerned for the well-being of our city. When we are 30 years old and we want to live in Los Angeles, we will have no opportunity to pay for rent. And it is the time to start talking about gentrification and preserving artistic communities in a city that has been so valued for our creativity. Please, please, please start discussing this as a city council. It is important, and we do not want to become like Manhattan where artists cannot live. Please support this and attend the meeting. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That completes the cards of public comment today. Madam Clerk, anything? Next item?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
They're posted that clears desk.
Any announcements, members? Adjourning motions, members. All rise for adjourning motions, please. Sergeant, will you ask those who are here if they'd like to rise for adjourning motions? Thank you. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise today in memory of a former constituent who passed away on Sunday at the age of 105. Gussie Louise Gibson Tolliver was born on October the 8th, 1909 in Utica, Mississippi, the first of 10 children. She married Thomas L. Tolliver in Copiah County, Mississippi in 1930. In 1942, after having 5 daughters and 1 son, they moved to Los Angeles. Gussie started working at the South Hoover Hospital in Los Angeles as an orderly performing domesticated duty for patients throughout the hospital. Through hard work, Gussie and Thomas saved enough money to purchase their first home on Anzac Street in Los Angeles. The house cost approximately $2,500 for a 2-bedroom property. She was the proud mother of 9 children, 25 grandchildren, and over 50 great-grandchildren. Gussie was truly blessed and highly esteemed by her family and friends. She led life to the fullest and will be sorely missed. Her services will be held Sunday, April the 26th, 3:30 p.m. at Hawthorne Adventist Church. May she rest in peace.
Special life, special person. Mr. Parks.
Thank you. I have 2 adjourning motions. I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Alice Dora Talavera, who was born December 7th, 1941, and passed away Saturday, April 2nd, 2015, due to health complications. She's survived by her 4 children, Sharon, Dominic, Diane, and Charlene, 10 grandchildren, and a host of family members. Her funeral services were held Friday, April the 10th, at Angelo Mortuary in Van Nuys, California. Second one, I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Martin Reiser, who was born September 1927, passed away Saturday, April 11th, 2015. He was born in Philadelphia in 1927. He's the son of an optician, received his undergrad and doctoral degrees from Temple University. During the Korean War, he served in the Air Force. He taught at Penn State, moving to California, worked at Camarillo State Hospital. He later was the president of the Los Angeles Institute of Society Psychoanalytic Studies. Martin Reiser was the first full-time staff psychologist for the Los Angeles Police Department and a pioneer in treating troubled officers, diffusing hostage situations using hypnosis to elicit information about crime. He was assigned by Chief Ed Davis and was to see to the psychological needs of 9,000 department employees and their families while developing mental health standards for recruits, responding to crises, and helping on cases that would benefit from his perspective. He started the critical incident debriefing for officers who have been involved in shootings or other situations that were particularly gruesome or frightening. He trained 750 field sergeants to discern early warnings of damaging stress and reached out to undercover officers isolation could have caused them to be vulnerable. Reiser was a prominent advocate of the use of hypnosis to help victims and witnesses remember elusive details. In 1976, he founded the Law Enforcement Hypnosis Institute, teaching more than 1,000 attorneys, judges, and detectives about this application. One of his greatest feats is that he's involved in eventually getting this science elevated to a board-certified specialty in 2010. He's survived by his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Members, I ask we adjourn in memory of James H. McNeil, Jr., who passed away at 83, lived a wonderful life as he served this country as a member of the Naval Reserve in 1952 and active duty at the Korean War. He moved after being discharged to Burbank, working as an ambulance driver to his father-in-law, then started Schaefer Ambulance Service. At the time of his death, he was president of Schaefer Ambulance, which you all know, right at Beverly and Western, and serves our community. Much involved with the Men's Club of Burbank, service clubs, Lions Club, Foothill Service Club for the blind. Much love, and he's survived by his wife of 53 years, Luella, his children Leslie, Marlene, Jimmy, and his sister Betty. May he rest in peace. Also, members, we all know in our districts there's always one or two, and this guy was number one, and Jerry the Barber, Jerry Caron, who was the barber on Larchmont, died at 76 years old, has a long and valiant fight with heart disease. But up until just a few years ago, you would walk down on the east side of Larchmont, and there would be Jerry in the barber's chair. And he'd always smile and then give a clip if you needed a clip. He was very much a hero to the Larchmont community for over 50 years, a barber. And he cut multiple generations of hair, from young men to young boys, all the way up to when they became grandfathers. He's a champion and much loved. He's survived by his wife, Diane, and his two sons, Chris and Doug. May Jerry Caron be remembered well. Members, this concludes today's meeting. Go ahead and serve the city well, and thank the clerks and the staff and the council for their assistance. This meeting is adjourned.